Buongiorno a tutti, io sono italo-americano e invece di rovinare la lingua italiana parlerò in inglese, mi dispiace. This is a simple story, okay? This is a story that hopefully will inspire the young people here to embark on trying to change, because in 30 years as a scientist working on basic science, I never made anything. I am not a maker, okay? Only in the last 3 years have I become a maker. And this has been the challenge to try to change the way we provide protein to the world. It's the story of a company that's called Beyond Meat. And the question that we're trying to address is probably the biggest question facing the world, because it touches on so many of the issues that are facing us as we move forward in the future. And simply stated, it's by the year 2050, how are we going to feed the 9.6 billion people on this planet? It's estimated, though, that we're going to need at least twice as much food to supply to that population. And that's because this is a problem not only of numbers, but of distribution of calories. As we'll see, there are places, as we know, in the world where there's not enough protein source, there's a lack of nutrition, and there are parts of the world, like my own country, where there's too many calories. And this is leading to many of the diseases facing our society. We focused on meat and livestock, mainly because the United States is the largest consumer per capita of red meat. And you can see that meat consumption in the Western world is staying relatively static, but in the developing world is exploding. As populations become richer, they want more of the diets of rich countries. They want these rich protein sources. So if we're going to provide food to a growing world's population that is becoming more prosperous, we're going to need to be able to provide more meat protein. The problem, though, is that livestock growth is absolutely not sustainable. All right, it's estimated that livestock production produces about 25% of the greenhouse gases in the world. This will only grow if we increase our production towards 2050. It's the largest user of water, of land resources. And if you think about it, in the United States, 10% of the grain crop is used directly as food. The rest is used, the majority is used for feed to animals to then provide protein. So it's a somewhat inefficient way to provide protein. And this is what got me into this. There is an epidemic in our country of obesity and chronic diseases. And this is just a map of diabetes in the United States, just showing you over a period from 2004 to 2008 to 2012, how the incidence of diabetes has gone up through the country. Okay? But you see there are regions that are focused in red. Okay? Those regions in red, if you overlap with poverty in the United States, maps pretty much one-to-one. Ironically, diabetes and obesity is a disease of overabundance of calories in regions of poverty. So we have problems of our diet that we need to address, and I think this is the tip of the iceberg that will spread throughout the world as prosperity spreads. So how do we address this? Well, at Beyond Meat, we had a very simple hypothesis. Could we replace some of the meat supply, and in the United States, much of the meat is in the form of red meat, hamburgers, fast food. Could we replace it with plant-based protein sources, much more direct source of protein, in a way that appeals not just to vegetarians, but to meat eaters, in a way that's appealing, tasteful, nutritious, and of course addresses many of these concerns of resources, climate change, animal welfare, and human health. And the idea was a simple one. We understand the architecture of meat. I'm a structural biologist. I understand the shapes and forms of biological molecules. We understand the components of meat. How could we then use that knowledge to re-engineer, using plant proteins, the experience, the sensory experience of eating meat? We did this by assembling a small team of scientists from diverse backgrounds, using these design principles, and using the idea that we want to mimic the overall sensory experience. The color of raw meat, the color of cooked meat, the aroma, the taste of meat, the sound of meat. We measured frequencies of hamburgers sizzling, right? Because it's that overall sensory experience that attracts us to eating meat. We wanted to reproduce it. And the end result has been a hamburger called the Beyond Burger that has been quite successful in the United States, as we've seen. Now, the point that I want to make to the young people is this was a team without gray hairs, okay? Everybody on this team, it's a small team of about 20 people who developed this product. Most of them are under the age of 30. All of them are under the age of 40, right? This is a team of young people, and most of them had never worked in food before. I assembled this team from different backgrounds in engineering, chemistry, biology, food science, material science, right, to look at this problem anew and afresh and come up with simple solutions. And these are the products that exist now. They're mostly in the United States, but soon they're in Italy now at Well Done Burger here. But internationally, these are going to be everywhere in the upcoming decade. And I have to show you this. We've done life cycle analysis to show that our products are more sustainable. And of course, I have to show Leonardo DiCaprio, who's one of our biggest supporters. And in the United States, we eat 1 billion hamburgers. If we can just have a third of those go to plant-based, you can see the impact this would have on many of the aspects of sustainability, and then obviously on the human health aspects of eating fast food in regions where there is a dearth of nutritious food items. But at the end of the day, when you're innovating in food, you're not making an iPhone. You're making something delicious that people have to eat. The sensory experience has to be successful. And the success here has just been in our adoption across social media, in a number of restaurants. We're in fast food chains now. We're in hamburger chains. And we're in 20,000 retailers worldwide. And this started only 3 years ago. And the sky's the limit. This is sold in the meat section right next to ground beef. So consumers come in, they look at the meat section, and most of the people buying our products are meat eaters, and they enjoy it. So come by the stand today. I think we have some samples for you to taste. So thank you.
There is not for everybody?
Non lo so.
I don't.
Tocca a sera.
Ok, vediamo. Thank you,
Bene,
Professor.
grazie.
Thank you.